Okay. We make lots of choices in life. We make lots of choices. And lots of these choices aren't that important, really. So the choices we were just making there, some of them are sort of quite important, but none of them are like really, really important choices. But in today's story from the Bible, we didn't hear about them so much, but when Jesus was on the cross, he met two people. There was two people, one either side, on a cross either side of him. They were dying too. Yeah, what were you going to say, Adrian?
One of the one was kind of rude and one was kind of nice.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Neve? Yeah.
And they were both arrested for like criminal activities.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you very much. Both of you said. So the next bit I'm going to say. They made very poor choices, both of them. But at the end, they made very different choices. Throughout their lives, they've made bad choices, but at the end, one of them made a very good choice. And what I've got here, so you've got three men on the cross. And to represent them, we've got three pictures of people. So in the middle, we have a little man that's representing Jesus, King Jesus, where he's got a crown on his head. And this side, we have criminal number 2. And this side, we have criminal number 1. And we're going to be using them to think about the choices that these men made. And I want you to imagine that the T-shirts that they're wearing represent the choices that they made. So we've got criminal number 1, Jesus, and criminal number 2. And their T-shirts represent the choices that they've made in their lives. Now, criminal number 1 has made in his life some very, very bad choices. He's made a real mess of things. So I'm just going to make a bit of a mess on his T-shirt to show all the mess that he's made. He's done lots of bad things. Maybe he's lied. He's maybe rioted, sort of done bad things in the area, hurt people, done all sorts of things, and maybe stolen things. Who knows? All sorts of bad things. And criminal number 2, life's been much the same. Lots and lots of mess. Lots and lots of mess, which has led them to being on the cross alongside Jesus. Wrong thing. To be put on a cross back in those days, 2,000 years ago, long, long time ago, the criminals would have had to have done some really, really bad things to get there. And these criminals were the same. Now, we all make bad choices sometimes, don't we? Perhaps we haven't made choices. I'm sure we haven't made choices as bad as these two. Not as bad as these. But there will have been times where we will have lied. There will have been times that we will have said no to our parents when really we should have said yes. And we sort of thought this week about sin. We've heard that we've actually said no to God ourselves. We've just like these men did, but in sort of different ways we've done it. But similar to these men, instead of letting Jesus be king, we've made ourselves king or queen of our lives. We've taken Jesus' crown and put it on our own heads. It's a very old Legoland crown. It's not as nice as Jesus' crown. And we try to make our own rules. And the problem is that these things make our hearts dirty, as we think about in the first day, and guilty before God. Now, what shall I write on Jesus' shirt? What shall I write on his T-shirt? Well, I guess Jesus. But, yeah, what do you think, Chloe? Yeah. What do you think? A crown? We could put a crown on there. But what we're not going to do, we're not going to put any mess on there, are we? Why are we not going to put any mess on there? Yeah, what do you think? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. He hasn't done anything wrong. Because he's put the crown on his own head. He's taken Jesus' crown and put it on his own head. He's made himself the king instead of Jesus. Jesus was different. Jesus was different to everybody else who's ever lived. He is the only person never to get anything wrong. Not even the tiniest thing, nothing at all. Nothing wrong. He looked like this. That's it, you can put your hand down for a minute. He looked like this, his t-shirt looks like this, completely clean, completely pure, because he was perfect, without a stain. He's God, he's perfect. What you can say, Neve, yeah. No, nothing's perfect. What, Jesus is perfect. Yeah, go on, what were you going to say? Perhaps that's something to talk about in your groups a bit later. That's a helpful point. But God is perfect. Jesus is the only one never to get anything wrong. We're not like Jesus, are we? We know that God is perfect. We've been thinking about this week, that God is perfect, Jesus is perfect and good. But because he's perfect and good, he can't ignore sin. He can't just pretend it's not there. The things we do and say, they hurt him. He doesn't like it when we do these things. He can see the mess on our shirts like this. He can see the mess in our lives. You wouldn't walk into the head teacher's office with a messy t-shirt like this, would you? Well, it's just I didn't have time. You wouldn't walk into the head teacher's office with a really messy t-shirt. So you can't walk in to see God with a mess like this. We can't be in his family like this. It doesn't matter how much we try or how good Mum thinks we are. We can't fix it. We can't fix it on our own. We need help. Well, this is when we come to our the criminals alongside Jesus. Because one of them, criminal number one, he chose to keep his sin. He kept his t-shirt on. He didn't understand who Jesus was, so he laughed at him. He teased him. He was horrible to Jesus. He thought that Jesus can't be God's king if you're dying on a cross. If you're there on a cross, there's no way you could be God's king. There's no way you would have let that happen. If you're really God's king, if you're really the king of everything, get down, sort this out, get yourself out of this situation. It was a fair punishment for this man because he'd done really bad things. He was getting what he deserved, but he was making the wrong choice. He didn't choose Jesus. If we choose, like this man, to keep our t-shirt on, to hold on to our sin, to choose our sin, then we can't be in God's family. The second criminal makes the right choice. The first criminal who holds on to his sin doesn't choose Jesus, makes the wrong choice. The second criminal, he makes the right choice. Go on, Aidan, what were you going to say? Yeah, that's just because they've both made really bad mistakes. That was just because I didn't have time to do more scribbles. So I'm not saying one's worse than the other. I don't know them. The second criminal makes the right choice. He chose to swap his sin with Jesus. He understood that he'd done wrong, and he understood that he was being punished fairly, that what was happening to him was fair. He asked Jesus, please let me be in your family in heaven, and please let me be in your family forever. Please let me be with you forever. Let me be with you after I die. This criminal chose to give his sin to Jesus. He chose to take his t-shirt off of all the mess and to give it to Jesus. A bit like this. On the cross, Jesus was being punished for the sin of other people. Anyone who trusts Jesus as their king can have their sins paid for. Jesus will put all of the sin of anyone who trusts him on his t-shirt. But that's not the end, because this is the other thing that happens. Not only does Jesus take the messy t-shirt, but he gives anyone who trusts him his clean t-shirt. Not only has criminal 2, this man 2, not only has his sin been taken away, but Jesus' perfect life has been given to him. People who trust Jesus as their king still get things wrong, still sin, but say that they're sorry. We say we're sorry to God, and we know that he forgives us. All of our sin has been given to Jesus. It's all gone forever. He's taken it all. This is what God sees when he sees his friends. Completely clean, all gone. All the mess is gone. If you're trusting Jesus as king of your life, when God sees you, this is what he sees. All the mess gone. All the rubbish gone. Jesus said something amazing to the criminal. He said, as soon as you die, you'll be with me in heaven. Heaven is a real place, and a bit like this, a bit like this place, the ground under your feet, the sky above your head, the people, the animals, the trees. It's a bit like the place we know, but it's perfect. The world we know, there's really good things, lots of amazing things, but it's not perfect, is it? There's things that make us sad. But heaven is perfect. About 1 minute. The choice criminal 2 makes is the best choice. If we choose Jesus, our sin can be, choose to give Jesus our sin, we can be in God's family because we have Jesus' perfect life. This is the swap of the cross. This is why Jesus died, so that he could be punished for our sin, so that we can be in his family forever. We choose what we do with our sin. We can make the choice to hold on to it, or we can make the choice to give it to Jesus.